Please enjoy this feature presentation of the Crooked River Radio Network. This program is rated for all audiences.
The World According to Elmer is sponsored by CrookedRiverRadio.com. Crooked River Radio is an internet radio station that is live 24/7 playing top 40 hits from the 60s through the 80s. You can find us on Live 365, Simple Radio, Roku, Radio Garden, and even Alexa, as well as our website. Come on and join us on the Crooked River. Welcome aboard. We're headed for the World According to Elmer, with hosts Gerry Sorensen and Pat Morrow. Don't worry, you'll enjoy it there. Better buckle in and enjoy the ride. Here come our hosts now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the World According to Elmer. I'm your host, Gerry Sorensen, KG8RRY. And with us tonight, somewhere on the other side of that blue screen, is Mr. Pat Morrow. He is N8OQP. And the thing that the both of us have in common, we just finished up with Field Day, and we're excited about Field Day. Pat, how are you, my friend?
Not doing too bad, as soon as I can find you.
When you showed up, I disappeared.
Yeah, we're working on it.
It's all good. Hey, while you're getting that ready, I've got to tell you, I was just looking over a receipt that a friend sent me. There's a ham radio operator. You know him, by the way. His name is John C. in Wadsworth, Ohio. And I won't say his full last name, but he happened upon a receipt that he found in his drawer today. And this was his first HF radio that he had purchased. And this was back on January 30th of 1970. Now, he bought an ICO 753 with a matching power supply and a Shure 444 microphone to go with it. You have to have something to talk with, right? I guess all of his rigs prior to this rig had been strictly CW only. And so this was his first sideband transceiver. What do you suppose he paid for this jewel? Do you know?
Probably back, give me a date.
Again, the date was January 30th of 1970. Richard Nixon would have been in office, right?
Probably, I'd say it's a stretch for about $500. Probably a little less.
Oh, yeah, no, that's way high. The ICO 753 with the power supply and the Shure microphone total came to $210 for the entire set.
Wow.
You know, I don't know that you can get can you get a 2-meter radio for your car for $200 these days?
Yeah, I think so. Just straight 2 meters.
Well, barely if you can.
Just straight 2 meters.
This is just, that's just amazing that that kind of a change can take place from, of course, you know, I think of 1970 as like yesterday, and that was what, 8, 9, 10, that was 60 years ago. So just because it seems like yesterday, well, that doesn't make it so.
I was in high school back then.
A long time ago. What's that?
I was in high school back then.
Yeah?
70, I was, probably 15 years old. I was born in 54, so I would have been 16.
I was in high school also. We're pretty much the same age. So, yeah, I remember. And the music was really awful. Songs like I Adore You by Frankie Valli, that was popular back in about the 1970 era. Those are horrible songs.
War.
But anyway, all that aside. Oh, I know another song that was popular at that time. There was the one about I've got a brand new pair of roller skates.
Oh, by Melanie. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was popular.
Of course, then again, you had White Rabbit.
Jewels like Seasons in the Sun would have been popular right about then.
You had White Rabbit. The White Rabbit. You had Nana Hey, Kiss 'Em Goodbye.
It was all awful.
Yeah,
just terrible music.
Just some maybe.
No, you don't play any of that on the Crooked River, do you?
No, not at all. Well,
no,
some.
Some songs don't need to be replayed.
We're going to do.
Go ahead.
We're going to do a something kind of weird this weekend. Anybody that does like the 60s, 70s, and or 60s and 70s. What we're going to do is start Friday night, and we're going to go all 60s from from 5 o'clock Friday afternoon until 10 o'clock. I think it was Saturday night. It'll be all 60s. At 10 o'clock, we're going to switch it to all 70s and rock into 10 o'clock Sunday night. And at 10 o'clock Sunday...
Is there enough music from the 1970s to be able to fill 24 hours?
I've got 750 some songs. It'll be... I've covered weekends with this before.
Right.
Yeah, it's... I carry... Each genre's got about 600 or 700 songs to it so far. So it'll be enough to cover it. And then once we get into the... probably after the Crooked or the Radioactive show, if I do one, it will be, we're going to switch to 70s along with the Music of America, which is all your 4th of July stuff. And we'll run that through 10 p.m. Monday. It's going to be a pretty cool lineup. I had this thought a couple of days ago, and I thought, we ought to run that. So.
Well, this past weekend we did something a little unusual, too. And it's kind of interesting because it was kind of like a holiday going on around here. And now we've got a holiday coming up. So this is like 2 holiday weekends in a row. And so I have to ask you, El Presidente of the Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Club, give me before we break it down, give me the overall impression of how things went in Summit County.
We had a blast, first off.
Wonderful.
We had people, a pretty big stream of people both days. We were visited by 330 to Go, the Facebook group, which is Hank, and I'll reach out to him after we use the video. We'll thank him for that. And then we were visited on Sunday at noon by the mayor of Stowe, who was nice. Who I was a friend of. My deceased wife used to work for him, and I didn't think he'd remember me. So when I reached out to him, I had just flat out asked him. I said, if I don't know if you remember me, but my wife used to work for you. What's the chances of you showing up at our field day site? And he said, sure, I'll be out there. So
wow, well played.
We come. He says I'll come out Sunday afternoon about noon. And about 12:15, he pulls on the site. And he stayed for almost an hour.
That is amazing. That's awesome.
He's a good dude.
Congratulations to the mayor of Stowe for doing the right thing.
And he pretty much walked the site. Him and his wife Cindy was there. And actually Mayor John Perbonic. And we had, that was pretty much two of the highlights. The other highlights that we had were just, to me, mind-boggling. I had one guy that was in 40 meters that made most of the 1,150 cues there. He himself was over 1,000 cues in less than a day.
Wow.
On 40-meter voice, Gerry. 40-meter voice. He comes out of that trailer Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and his eyes were this big. He says, I am so tired. I've been up since 8:30 Friday morning. He said, I got to get some rest. So about 1:30, I sent him home. I said, you just go home, Jim.
What's that country song about we can rest when we die or something like that?
That's right. But for the most part, we had
there's no rest for anybody during field day. You got to keep after it.
We had our field day chairman, who you'll see in the 330 video, really did a bang-up job for us. He was a motivator, and he set goals he took, and we actually achieved some pretty steep goals as far as that was. He told everybody, I want over 2,000 cues for this thing. We got 2,600 or 2,500.
Wow, so you went way over your goal.
2,552 was the actual contacts that we had.
Well, you know what that means.
Huh?
That means that next year you've got to have a higher goal.
Well, we'll do that. We'll see. Yeah. The difference in the 2 years, though, I think is, and this is coming from kind of sort of personal experience, is that this year we are in a sunspot cycle, and
Yes,
we are
we are.
embedded in it. And last year and the year before that, and probably it had leveled out there for 3 or 4 years. When in those points, we were not in a sunspot cycle, and the cues weren't anywhere near as good. The bands weren't as
No,
good.
that's right. In fact, last year we would have been anticipating the upcoming
Exactly.
sunspot cycle. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's a whole different dealio.
And getting into that, the fact was that you had bands that were open, especially at night, that weren't normally open. We had there was 1 hour and 7 minutes in 40 meters that nobody made a cue for, and it wasn't because nobody was there. It was just wasn't happening. And we had a couple other bands that were similar to that. But on the other hand, some of the other stuff was open all night long. And we had cues.
Well, one of the things that changed. Go ahead.
We had cues on CW that were pretty much constant. There was always somebody there to talk to.
Well, one of the things that changed from the prior year to this year that I can tell you from personal experience is, actually, the in 19 was my last field day prior to this. So I'm comparing 19 to this year. In 19, there's two kinds of people on the bands. There are the people that just sit, they park themselves on one band, and they're the ones that call CQ. And they get a pile up and they sit and they work that group of people until it runs out. Okay, you've got that group of people. Then you've got the 100 pounds people, and that includes me, where we start on one band and we work our way up from the bottom to the top of the band, and then maybe we'll go from 40 to 80 and then back to 40 again. We'll do that back and forth, and we'll just run the bands. And in 19, very often I would do an entire band. Let's say I did 40 meters bottom to top. If I went back and tried to run the band again, I would find the same people. And so basically at that point you had a band full of duplicates, and a duplicate doesn't mean anything for your score.
That's exactly right.
So you'd have to wait a while and kill some time, and then you could do the band again. This year, when I would get to the top of the band, if I started over, it was all new people. So there were way more people operating this year than there were in 19. I say that anecdotally because, again, I was able to reach people that just weren't there in 2019. And so that probably factored into your young man that did so well, where he, just did all those 40-meter contacts. He had fresh people all the time to contact this year, which is a big deal.
Exactly. Him, as far as his contacts and that, he hardly left that trailer. There were, when we got to, when he finally came out of there, there was 1,009 on the sheet. And
see, that's the difference between a young guy and one of us old guys, because us old guys,
he's not that young.
We have to take some breaks.
Jim was not that young. I think he's a couple of years older than I am.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Wow.
But he's a contester, buddy. And that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
Now, we should mention for the folks at home that field day is not a contest.
Where it may appear that it is, it really isn't. You're actually, the big things with field day is they're wanting to take and they want to get the public's attention for one thing. Because
that's number one, by the way, as far as I'm concerned.
That's good for us. And secondly, they want everybody to prove that they're emergency ready.
That's right. And that should be reassuring to the community. The reason we wanted everybody in Northeast Ohio to know that all of our clubs were out there, we want them to feel better about the fact that if the S hits if the S hits the F, there's going to be this group of people that can still communicate come what may. That's a big deal. Years ago, Pat, I was talking to a guy that was the head of a local volunteer fire department. And he had a meeting and he asked his guys, he said, what is it we do for this community? And one guy said, well, we if there's an emergency, we get in the squad and we go out to whoever's house and we pick them up and we take them to the hospital. people appreciate this. It makes them feel better. Or if there's a fire, we get in the fire truck and, we go do our thing. And he was like, guys, now think about what you just said, because when was the last time that we went to a fire? And everybody had to admit it was like 10 years previous to that. They hadn't been out in 10 years on that fire truck. And, and how often do we run that squad? A few times a week. Okay. He said, this isn't what we provide the community, because look how little of what we claim to do we do. The service we provide to this community is we give them reassurance, and they feel better about living here because they know we're here and we'll be out in the event of an emergency. Well, the same thing with ham radio. It should reassure the community to know there's this group of people that is able to communicate when nobody else can get through.
Yep, that's true.
That's a big part of what we do. Emergency communications on field day and making the public aware that we're there. Now, we had a number of visitors, Pat, that we were able to greet. We were able to sit some of them down at the radio and put them on. There were some people, they want to get on that radio. Now, there's other people that when you offer the radio, they're like, I can't really probably do this. And so they don't participate, but they like to watch. But it was a way of introducing people that might want to be amateur radio operators in the future to just what it is that we do.
We actually had a get on the air station also, and we had, in fact, I've got a couple of pictures when we get to those of the kids that we had there. We had probably a dozen kids, a lot of families. That's this year. Awesome. We had 5 or 6 different families there this year. And
I've got a picture of some kids on the slides that I put together too. So we're going to see some young people. If you're familiar with ham radio, great. And if not, don't buy into the lie that there are no kids involved in ham radio, because there are several in our club.
Do we want to go there?
Some in Pat's club. I think there's kids in every club.
We want to go to the
yeah, let's do that. You guys are listening to The World According to Elmer on the Crooked River Radio Network. And I'm Gerry. That's Pat. Let's go ahead and take it away here. Now, I'm going to put my goofy-looking glasses on here, which we've got to figure something out about these glasses, Pat. But at any rate, let's look at this is our Ham Fest, and this was not in the city of Massillon, even though we are the Massillon Amateur Radio Club. But we had our Ham Fest in a park in Perry Township. And the park that we were in is adjacent to Perry High School in Stark County, Ohio. Here's Jim and Fred, and as you can see, they are readying one of the 2 beam antennas that we had at Amfest this year. Now, we'll find out from Pat in just a few minutes how many stations that they ran in Cuyahoga Falls. We ran 2 stations as a club, which means that we were a 2A group this year. Now, we did have a couple of other transmitters, and I'll show you both of them here in a second as we go through. So let's move ahead here, and we'll see another picture of that same beam with our American flag that we have up top there. Every time that we go out, we have a W8P, which is the club call sign flag, and we have Old Glory, the American flag, and that's very important to our club. A lot of our folks in the Massillon Club, Pat, were World War II and Vietnam, and I think one guy, Korea. We got a couple of guys that were in Desert Storm. Anyway, many of the men in our club were members of the service, and so the American flag is a big deal in our club. So, at any rate, that is before the beam went up in the air. That beam goes up 40 feet, by the way. This young man has been a club member for many years. He's Damien, and he was sitting at our GOTA station. So, Pat, what you're looking at in that picture there is our GOTA station, and we were able to actually make contacts on the GOTA station with individual call signs. And additionally, as people came and visited, we were able to put many of those people on the air. And I'll tell you something else, Pat, we were able to use that station for. We have 2 members of our club that have become disabled in the last year, and they're in wheelchairs now. And the van that we have that you saw earlier, that's not wheelchair accessible. There's no way for them to get up into the van. And so they were able to access the GOTA station, and they were able to go ahead and be part of Field Day this year when they would have been excluded had they not been accommodated. And so the lesson there, gang, in your club, wherever that may be, make sure that your facilities, as we do these events like Field Day, can be accessed by those who have special needs. End of sermon on that. Okay, down below the GOTA station here, I can see the top of Perry's head. That's his white hair. And they're working on the coax on the wiring for one of the beams. This guy below, what they're doing, this guy here, we had some shady, sketchy characters at our Field Day this year, Pat. So if you want to move on down, here's one of them. Yeah, there he is. That guy. The guy that is not a potato gun, Pat. Do you know what that is?
I'm looking at it. No, I don't know what it is.
That is a beanbag gun. And that's used for is we have a beanbag about the size of a potato, and we attach that on one end of the rope.
Yep.
And that is the device that is used to launch that wire antenna over the top of 100-foot tall trees down here.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, isn't that an amazing piece of gear? One of the club members built that. That thing, it can take up to 150 pounds of pressure in order to top a 125-foot tree on the first go. I used 60 pounds is all, and I cleared that tree by 20 yards.
I have a couple of guys in our club that are really good with slingshots. And the one guy, when we got to do something like that, he carries this sling with him. And I've never seen anybody launch a rock or anything like that like this dude can. It just goes. But
it's so much easier. I mean, some of these trees are so large, there's no way to climb them. So how are you going to get the wire over there? You got to be good with the slingshot, or you got to have a device like this. That's what gets your wire up in the air. And as we know from Pat, we can talk anywhere in the world on 100 watts in a wire. That fellow right there is an interesting guy. That is W8KXR. His name is Gene, and Gene is a writer, and Gene takes pictures, and Gene is an outstanding ham radio operator. And in fact, his thing is AM. He likes to broadcast, or likes to make contacts in AM mode, not broadcast, but he likes to make contacts. He likes to make QSOs in AM mode, and those are the big heavy transmitters that are used for AM. And he is part of our 6-meter AM group. That's how I know Gene. But he's a great guy, and he has a whopper of radios. That guy there, let me tell you. Here's a couple of youngsters below. This is Damien that we saw earlier, and he is with young Mr. Rankle there, and they are operating the GOTA station. Now this next gentleman below, this is Perry, and he's going to be doing some CW for us. It got a little bit nippy. Did it get nippy in the evening up there, Pat?
I was told that by like midnight it was a little chilly.
It was. Perry was operating in the evening. This was Saturday night, and he got a little bit chilled. And he came and asked me if I had a jacket. I said, "Yeah, I've got one in the car, but it's one of my school jackets from the college I used to went to." I said, "It's bright red. Do you mind wearing bright red?" And he said, "No." So there he put my jacket on, and there he is calling CQ. And Perry's an interesting guy. He can operate at about 45 or 50 words a minute.
Oh, that looks good.
Yeah. I knew that you would have liked this particular slide. If you're going to do Field Day, you got to eat, right?
That's right. My food budget for Field Day at about 400 or 600 and a little over $600 now proves that you got to eat.
You got to eat. These guys aren't coming out for nothing. They're coming out to eat. We're guys. Got to eat. So, there you go. Here's putting the American flag back up again. Now, this picture underneath, I got to show you. I thought this was pretty unique, and this happened this year. Those three men right there, that is Dave to the left, and Evan in the middle, and Don to the right, Rankle. And they are grandfather, father, and son. And so
sweet.
we had three generations of ham radio operators represented at our field day this year.
Sweet.
How cool is that? Three generations of guys that are in ham radio at the same club, and they get along.
It's like we were discussing at field day. You know, in order to get the kids involved and stuff, we were talking about ways of doing that. And I pointed out that, you know, it's normal for, if a kid's exposed to the stuff when they're young, it's normal for them to get the interest in it. And they're either going to get the bug or they're not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. One of my of my three kids did, and she's a general now, but she'd probably be an extra if she had the time to do it. But
yes.
You know, that's the way it works. You know, you have the stuff almost is contagious, is the way I say it. I've said it before. So this kind of stuff here does not surprise me. He probably, the father probably picked that up from his father, and it just went down the chain.
And that's exactly how it happened in that family. And I just think it's an awesome sight. Neither one of my sons, either one, are interested in radio, and that breaks my heart. But in their family, there's a good tradition going on there. So don't let anybody tell you there's no kids involved in ham radio. Now, are there as many kids today involved as in the past? No, probably not, because kids today have a lot more they can do, and they have a lot of distractions. Whereas back in the 1960s, 1970s, radio was pretty cutting edge. And today, what does everybody carry? Everybody carries this kind of radio with them. And so this is what kids grow up with. Plus, there are video games today, and there's all sorts of other activities that didn't exist. But just keep exposing your children to ham radio. And with some of them, as Pat just said, in the case of his daughter, it will stick. So it's all good. This next fellow down is WB0IQK. That is Mark. And Mark is operating with an 8-watt Zygu 6100. And I was able to operate his transmitter for about a half hour. And even with all of the RF that was on the site from the two stations that were on the air. And by the way, you would have laughed because I was on 15 meters, and yet whenever they would key the CW transmitter, the entire display, the entire waterfall on that little 6100 would just light up as if every frequency on the band was in use, and that was just the RF. But in spite of that, I was able to make 3 QRP contacts on that little rig, one to Canada, and so it was a good distance, and the other 2 from in the States here, but they were from faraway states, and so it was amazing. If you've got a good antenna, it's incredible the contacts you can make even on 9 watts, and even in trying conditions like field day. So now Mark, the fellow that's operating right now, he's like Anthony. You know, he's very good at QRP, and he was able to do way better than I was. But I was able to eke out 3, and I'm proud of those 3.
We need to move down.
This next station, see the transmitter on the left? That is the DX10, and that is a Heathkit transmitter. Next to it is a Hallicrafters receiver that Mark is tuning as this picture was taken. And that was our vintage station from the 1950s, and we used that for demonstrative purposes. And all of the guests, especially, were very interested in the vintage gear. I was very gratified by that because that's a part of the hobby that I like. Okay, continuing on down. This is Don, N8IVJ. Don is our field day chairman, and so everything falls back on his shoulders at the end of the day. And he did an outstanding job this year, I just want to say, on the radio tonight. Don, fantastic. You outdid yourself this year, buddy. Everything was well organized, and I know that I appreciated all your efforts, as did the other guys in the club. This next fella down is another vintage operator. His name is Rich. He is WB8UW, and he is an outstanding ham radio engineer, Pat. There's just nothing he doesn't know. He's one of these guys that you could give him a box of parts and he'll build you a radio. That's your guy right there. Okay, the next slide down. This is a picture of those towers that I was showing you earlier, except now they're extended, and you can see the kind of height and that we get. Now you can see there's a tower behind the tower in front, and it's much taller. But the tower off of the communications van is not anything to laugh at either. Those, Pat, are both military surplus towers. Those came via the United States military, and we're sure happy to have them. They're outstanding, and you just crank them up from right there on the ground, and you have to crank so far, and then you put a new section in, and you keep cranking them up, and you put another section in. You do this all the way until they're extended like that, and they do a good job. That's why we got as many contacts as we did, because of that kind of antenna setup. That plus, again, we were running wire antennas. This next series of pictures below, our fellow in the back there, ACHCL Mark. ACHCL owns this van that is equipped with vintage gear, and it's a communications van. And wait till I show you the pictures of it here in a second. Here you can see him taking a 6-meter horizontal antenna out, and so this was our 6-meter antenna that we used out of his van. This next picture now I turned into black and white because I thought it suited it. Those are, Pat, World War II walkie-talkies.
Yep, I've seen them.
Can you imagine carrying those things around? That was your little handy talkie.
With a 9-foot antenna on them, yeah.
Yeah. If you were a radio operator in the war, you were in danger of being shot at all the time because of that 9-foot antenna you're talking about. It was a target. So down below the walkie-talkies, that's the inside of the van. What do you think?
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? All that military surplus gear. Those are the receivers, folks, you would have found in tanks or in vehicles of different type. You would have found those types of transceivers in airplanes. Anything the military was using had that kind of gear in it, and those are on every frequency known to man. The frequencies represented in this trailer are incredible. There's nobody in the world you can't talk to with the stuff that is in this van. It is just amazing. And there's another picture right below it. This is more of that gear, that same gear that we just saw. And boy, there's just a bunch of stuff in there. It takes a while to know what's in that van, but that's quite a sight. Now here's Don again. He's our field day chairman, and he has the heavy metal.
He's putting the hammer down, buddy.
we had heavy metal at our ham fest, and here, this picture is proof of it right here. And so fortunately, the only thing that got beat around at our ham fest was for the stakes going into the ground. He didn't have to use that to encourage us to get more contacts. And that's good. There's that W8NP flag I was telling you about, and as you can see, it's got the radio communication Massillon Obi Tiger on it. So, we're a little crazy about our football mascot around here, so we had to put him on the club flag. So there you go. Up in there you go. Here's a couple kids. Guess what they're working on? They're working on radio-controlled airplanes. And these airplanes have 2 engines, one on each wing, and they are amazing. You want to get kids involved in your club? This is how you do it right here. This is radio, and yet it's radio in a fun way. And so this kind of thing, or having your club meetings at the recreational center, there's all kinds of ideas on how you can get kids involved, but there should be kids at your field day. And I'm looking forward to seeing the pictures that you've got this fella below, I'm sorry, I took this picture not because that was Fred. I just thought the hat was cool with the tag on the side that said KD8SMO. I thought that's a pretty good artistic picture right there. So I snapped that one of Fred. So Fred, 73, and thank you for the nice picture. Nice hat there, buddy. Okay, moving on down. Oh, we talked about it earlier. You have to have grub. And this is the first thing that I saw on Saturday morning when I arrived. He was already there, and he was already loading that baby up with charcoal and getting ready to go. And that food cooked all day. And boy, by Saturday night, it was amazing. What a treasure, being out in the open air and having good food. And those are the end. That's the end of my field day pictures. I want to tell you guys about something though here at the end, since I had the slides running. Getting ready for the Hamfest coming up in October, on October 30th at Maps Air Museum, there at the Canton Akron Airport. We're going to be having our 2022 Hamfest again. So make sure, guys, gals, that you put this on your calendar. We've got big times coming here at the end of the summer. You can go to Whiskey8 NovemberPapa.net and get all the 411 on Hamfest. Vendors and folks going, you're going to be able here in the next few days to go ahead and buy tables or buy your tickets right online. So getting ready for the big day. I've got a couple other pictures down. This is a picture I snapped last year at Maps. What do you think? Look at that beauty. Isn't that amazing?
That's a beautiful plane.
And that plane is looking you right in the face.
Yeah, mean.
This and the one below that, look at the size of this American flag. Isn't that incredible? And that sits down at the end of Maps in last year's Hamfest, that flag. And that was what everybody saw when they first came in. And how about that plane? Now, I know that if a plane has two wings, it's called a biplane. What is it called if it has three wings?
It's a tri.
A triplane?
It's a triplane, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if it had a name or not, but I just think that's very cool. You know, back in the 20s and the 30s, they had men that would walk on those wings at shows.
Yep. And women, too.
It would not be for me, Pat. And I think that's about it. I don't know whether I got any more on here or not, but I think that pretty much wraps it up. Don't forget the Hamfest, guys, 30th of October. Make plans to be there. Last year, we had a guy fly in his private plane to be at the Hamfest. So there you go. You are listening to The World According to Elmer on Crooked River Radio. And that is Pat Morrow. He is N8OQP. I am Gerry, KG8RRY, and we are your host this evening, and we're glad you're here. So, Pat, I'm going to turn it over to you. My understanding is, from talking to you earlier, you have a great video that was done at your Hamfest this year.
Let me buzz through this PDF quick first, then we'll get into the video thing. That'll be... This will only take me a couple minutes here. I just wanted to show you a couple
That's fine.
pictures.
You go ahead and take it away.
This is this is our field day chairman, Anthony Luscre. And he is the guy that we had on here a few months back that actually was a QRP king. He was a QRP king. He's over 90,000 QSOs in his 40 years. And
QRP.
QRP QSOs, right.
That is crazy.
I still can't believe that, but it is. Anyway, and this was our co-chairman, Frank. This guy is
Frank. Pretty
much my right-hand guy. If there's anything technical that needs to be done, and he was the one that pretty much talked Anthony into doing field day. We both ended up backing him, and I couldn't do it without either one of these guys, as they are just the top in their class. This is what we call the evil Santa.
Well, he's got nice shades.
He's actually this man is actually Jim Grover. He's a professor of electronics, or he was retired, and he worked for Akron U for 30-some years.
Is he one of these crazy smart people?
He's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. He acts crazy sometimes, and he loves my grandkids. And this is I've been
man, what a look.
I've been picking on this guy ever since they took this picture. I can tell what he's thinking.
Looks like that thing just reached out and slapped him on the knee.
I can tell what he's thinking. He's thinking, well, the short end is up there, and so the signal is going to go that way, and so if we wanted to talk that way, I got to point this short pointy thing in that direction. Or vice versa, one of the two.
Photo. That is just epic.
This was actually one of our antennas.
Very nice.
We did not go with any beams this year, and it worked out really well. The manpower didn't really call for it. We have 5 or 6 different beams we could have put up. We did everything with either vertical or dual dipoles.
Those wire up.
40 and 80 and lower band dipoles. And
what do you do for 80? Do you do it like a 64-footer and use it as a quarter wave, or how do
we actually have 100?
80 is a trouble spot.
We actually have 100 and something. It's a half wave dipole for 80. We got the room.
That's a sizable dipole.
We got the room. From one end of the site to the other is probably about a half a mile, and we can use any of it. If you look over here on the left-hand side, I don't know if you can see my mouse pointer or not, but over here on the left is our generator. That provides the power for all the radios, the trailers, and the sites and everything. And this is, like I said, this is Mayor John Probonic and his wife Cindy talking to Anthony. He was so nice to stop in and drop in to see us, and he spent just about an hour there. And for a mayor of a city like that, I expected 15, 20 minutes.
We're going to talk about that here in a second, why that's important to have an official come. We'll talk about that in a minute.
But he's a great dude, and it was just really nice to see him. I hadn't seen him since 2006. And,
that's awesome.
But it was great to see him. All right, that's all my slides. I didn't want to bore everybody with I could have had a lot more.
Yeah, you didn't want to bore everybody like I did. So
I didn't say that, Gerry, but I knew you were going to have that many, so I just kind of cut it. I do have
you may not have said it, but you were thinking it.
Before
you are our evil announcer.
Before we do that thing on the on Anthony, I wanted to show you a quick video that. As to how our antennas get put up. You'll find this very interesting. You may even want to talk your group into doing it. So let me run this here. For me for 2 or 3 hours. And what happens is I have it set. I'm going to take I don't want fast forward. People tying up my bandwidth for all that time. I don't want you to really hear what I'm saying here. It'll time them up.
Okay. You got a crew out there. They obviously have put these up before because they're working together.
Okay, what you're seeing here, let me freeze frame it here. The vertical thing out here is actually a what they call a falling derrick. It's a derrick pole is what we do. It's got four ropes on it, and you take in order to pull this antenna, which is laying on the ground here. In order to pull that up, that derrick gets put on this L-shaped thing, and it is actually pulled and guided and held steady by the ropes. When you put the force on it, in order to keep the thing from shifting from side to side, you tension those ropes on the side, and it comes right straight up. I'm going to run this out to about 3 minutes here. So. All right, it should be all right from about here. This is actually how this thing works.
Now that is quite a sight.
Now see, he's going to walk over here in a minute, and they're getting ready to.
You've got the derrick pole. That's basically what holds the entire works up, and you're just you're using a group of people to put the guys up.
We have done this with
Yeah,
3 people before. As you notice, there's one in the front. There are a guy in the back there. He's actually going to pull it in a minute. If I didn't get by that, I don't think I did.
I can see people driving around. There's a road in the back there. I'll have to ask you in a minute how many people you had visit.
And there it goes.
Yep. Boy, that's fascinating.
And you,
That's
as you
engineering
see,
right
there were
there.
3 people that pulled that. And we've done that with complete towers before. You can actually tie that, the one line that goes to that Derrick pole, you can actually tie that to a winch because it's a steel cable. You can tie that to a winch and it goes right up that way too.
Now, I will commend the club, your club, on one thing that I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing safety first. I'm seeing people in hard hats that have proper protective gear. And it is obvious that this is being done in an orchestrated manner, that they know exactly what their jobs are, and they're carrying those out. So
if you look on
big kudos.
If you look
Big kudos.
by the guy in the yellow hat there,
Yes.
if you look below him, of course it's not going to show it now, there are these little orange flags. And what those little orange flags represent, see it there in front of him?
Yeah, I see them.
There's several around that tower. That represents the fall zone for that tower or for that pole. Even when we're putting that up or taking it down or anything like that, everything is to stay outside of the fall zone. And what that is a safety zone in case that tower or that antenna comes down.
That's awesome. Well thought out.
When we go to put a trailer or something in, the trailer will go right by right by the guy with the yellow helmet. Actually, we were quite a bit further away than that, but that's how we've been putting our towers up like this for about 5 or 6 years now. It's
You've got it down to a science. Buddy.
It's a very efficient thing. This was actually, the idea of this was given to us by an oil rigger. He was part of our club. The guy's name was Russell Shaw, actually. He actually had everybody, he had everybody in a meeting. He says, I don't know why you guys are pushing those antennas up like that. I got a way. Let me show you. And he helped us design the tower bases and everything. And I'm telling you, this is incredible. We were using 14 and 16 people to put these towers up before. You had 3 this time.
That is amazing.
That's just absolutely incredible.
Somebody needs to draw those plans up and share that around.
You can find them on, just look up Falling Derrick on the internet.
Falling Derrick. Okay.
And that will lead you to the place to get all this stuff. If you need any more, just let me know, and I can give you a couple of good links to it. There's also some stuff on Facebook about it.
That's pretty impressive, Pat.
Thank you.
I appreciate you sharing that tonight. That's awesome.
If your club, if you're going to actually put, we've actually installed, this time we put up 5 antennas, and 3 of them were done with this Derrick.
Oh, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. How many stations did you run?
We were 5 Alpha, so that's 5 stations. 3 of them were in one trailer though. We had
How did that go?
Didn't have a problem at all. No issues. They were all on different bands. It was CW on the CW would tell each other they were switching around.
Right.
So that they wouldn't interfere with each other or get on the same band.
I just can't imagine them, though, being in the same band and not having a problem, even with the fact that they were switching around.
It's the way the antennas are set up. Plus, we used this. This year, we tried using this stub. Frank designed a couple of stubs for that particular trailer. And the stubs really worked out well. The stubs act like a filter. You know,
We had a notch filtering set, but it malfunctioned.
The notch filtering does okay, but the stubs and combined with that usually works a little bit better. I think it worked quite a bit better.
Information on the stubs too.
That I'll have to get you in touch with Frank on. I've asked
good.
Frank to be on the show, but he's got cold feet. I'm gonna have to warm him up a little bit.
Tell him that I don't bite.
Well, we'll get him in here. That's what I had for that particular thing.
Well, that's awesome. Your presentation is outstanding.
Thank you.
So, we're really long on time here, but that's okay. We knew we were going to go long. I hear the station owner knows, so it's all good.
Yeah, he won't get mad till about 11 or 11:30. And it's what?
I'll be in bed by
it's what,
then,
8
so
now?
There's no worries. So I guess we've got another really nice video to run. So, and boy, that one was great. The one we just saw was fantastic.
I'm going to run the first.
We're going to see that one.
This video is available on 330 to go, the Facebook
What is
site.
330 to go?
It's a Facebook news site. It's run by a guy by the name of Hank, his name is Hank, and he's got 2 or 3 people that work with him. They run around to different events. If something's happening news-wise, he's there. But
That's awesome.
It's all internet news. Another friend of mine, Keith, knew him, and asked him to come out to visit us. Contacted him. Hey, why don't you come out? And he said, well, why not? I'll be out there. So he come out Saturday afternoon about 4, and he made this video I'm going to show you. This video is actually about 23 minutes long, and it really does a good job of everything. But I think the most important part is about 10 minutes long. So let's roll to that.
Well, you just roll it and then break it away whenever you want to, or
Okay.
the whole thing out. It doesn't matter to me. So it's up to you.
All right.
This is The World According to Elmer on the Crooked River Radio. We'll be back.
Folks, we got a red dot. Welcome back to Akron's hottest and fastest growing show, 330 to go. I'm your host, Hank. Coming to you live from Stowe, Ohio. We're at Silver Springs Park Campground right now. And we've been invited to check out Amateur Ham Radio Field Day 2022. So what is Field Day? Well, first of all, let me show you who invited us. It's the Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Club. All right. So let's go ahead and get that right there. And I'm going to flip it so that you can have their QR code. So when you pause this video later, all you got to do is scan that QR code and you can find out more information about them. All right. So there are so many things that take place during Field Day. Okay. And there are so many reasons that they do Field Day. And here are all the reasons. And we're going to go over these in just a bit. And then here are all the activities that are actually taking place right here in Stowe that you all can come participate in over the next 24 hours or so, all right? But right now what I'm going to do, before we go over this, I'd like to bring down Anthony. Anthony here is part of the team that's in charge and responsible for this event. So thank you so much for being a part of the show.
You're very welcome.
All right, so talk loud, all right?
Yes, I'm Anthony Luscre. My personal call is K8ZT, but we're using the club's call sign for this, W8VPV. Now, some of the stations are using phonetics so that stations can pick those letters out because V's and P's are hard to distinguish between. So when we go to some of the stations and you hear the recordings, they're going to be saying Whiskey 8, Victor, Papa, Victor, just to make it a little bit easier to pick out the different letters.
All right, so let's go over we got this whole list of things here. What is Field Day?
Field Day is a demonstration of amateur radio emergency communications. It takes place in about 2,000 to 3,000 stations around the U.S., Canada, and North America. And each of the stations operates either from home, or most of the stations operate from emergency power field setups like we're doing at this local park. Some of the stations operate mobile, so there's a variety of different ways stations can operate. We exchange some information just as practice that we would do similar to an emergency. So if there was a tornado in the area, we might be doing health and welfare information, ground view of what's going on in the area. But for this purpose, because it's just a practice, we send the number of stations we're operating. So we're 5 stations. The letter A to distinguish that we're operating on emergency power in the field, and Ohio, our location.
All right, so Anthony, give us an idea. So we talked about this before we went live. Like a perfect example of an emergency situation would have been what happened down in the Shreve, Mansfield, and Worcester area with all the winds last week.
Yes.
Right? In other words, there's no power and there's no communication. So you guys basically set your thing up and away you go.
Yes, we could come in and we could exchange information. We have a number of different ways. We're doing voice, Morse code, digital. We also have another form of digital, which we're going to be demonstrating later tonight, where we can actually do something very similar to email without using the internet.
All right, so tell me, so I see, I'm looking at the What is Field Day card, okay, and it says amateur radio stations around the U.S., over 5,000 stations. They're exchanging numbers. Now you can get tours and all that sort of thing, but it says at the bottom classes. Could you explain to us what the classes are?
The classes just simply say what type of station it is. So we're Class A, which means we're a field setup with more than 3 members using emergency power. Class B would be 1 or 2 members, typically out on a camping trip with emergency power. Class C means it's a mobile, like a car, a truck, a boat, anything like that can operate while in motion. Class D means that it's someone at home who's using commercial power. So even though they're not doing anything differently, they can be the resource that we can contact to pass that information. Then 1E is a home station using all their normal setup except for the using emergency power. Maybe they have a generator or a battery they're operating from. And the final group is special stations called F. Those F stations are emergency communication centers like the Red Cross, FEMA, etc.
Those are the big boys. Okay. All right, and then you've got all these activities that are taking place here.
I do. And one of the things we do in amateur radio is we're very involved in education. Our group is a 503c group and involved in education. We work with school children, but we also do classes for anyone that's interested. So we do licensing classes, and we have some activities here on this sheet that people can shoot with their QR codes and do, for example, make a little Morse code key out of a battery, a clothespin, and some thumbtacks, which is a fun little project to do.
Sure.
Also have information here on how to use your phone as a remote receiver using online software-defined radios around the world. So you can actually tune them very similar to if you had a ham radio at your house, but without an antenna or a radio, you can use these devices across the internet to tune stations around the world in.
Once again, folks, as you rewatch this video, all you have to do is pause, and you can actually read the different websites, or you can scan those QR codes for anything that you might be interested in.
And if they'd like the whole sheet, they can simply go to tiny.cc/HRYC. That's tiny.cc/HRYC.
Got it. All right. All right. So let's talk about the actual stations now. So what's going on behind us right here?
Right now, Evan is doing Morse code.
And
so right now he's sending CQ, which means he's calling for anyone that's out there. They'll respond to him. Then he'll send our call, W8VPV.
Okay.
Then he'll wait to see if anyone responds to him.
And we've already had some people respond. You had said that we've got those listed.
Yeah, we've already worked about 300 or 400 stations on a combined.
Okay, and what are some of these locations that are listed right here in this list?
Oh, Los Angeles. He's been working a lot of California stations. Now he's using a hand key. So when he squeezes on one side, it sends a dash. When he squeezes on the other side, it sends a dot. And all the Morse code characters are made up of dashes and dots. For example, the letter A would be 1 dash. I'm sorry, 1 dot and then 1 dash. It'd be dida.
Okay. And then what else is going on in this trailer?
So he's also logging every station he works. So he's using a computer for logging. We're not connected to the internet, but the two stations are connected via Wi-Fi, and that way they exchange the information. So when one station works, the other station will know, and they won't work them again.
Now, do you set it up so that it's a repetitive message?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we have they can strike certain keys on the keyboard, and it'll send our exchange automatically.
Okay.
It's really nice at 3 in the morning when you're getting a little tired of sending with your hand.
Sure. All right, so let's talk about our antennas here.
So this is a vertical antenna right here, and this antenna does multiple amateur radio bands. It's a very simple antenna. We use different types. Then we have these horizontal wires, which you can see. If you look at the flag and look out from there,
I see them.
We have a lot of rope that extends out, and then there's a copper wire there.
Okay, and then what does that do? It connects the other antennas?
Yeah, then that copper wire has a feed line. We call it coax cable.
Okay.
Very similar to what comes in your house if you have a cable TV, or it comes down from your antenna on the roof, and that runs to each of the stations. So we connect all the antennas to the radios. We also have a generator out in the field. If you look a little bit to the right of that, you'll see that white generator out there. That is a diesel generator that's generating power for all the stations. And we have a power cord coming over here that runs into the van and provides the communication.
And you said there's 5 stations total?
Yes.
And you can see these trailers over here are set up.
We actually have a total of 7 stations. We have 5 primary stations, and we have a new station called Get on the Air. It's for new people who have never done this before, so we can train them how to operate the other stations. And then we have one other station that's called, it's a VHF station. It's a high frequency station, so the communications are typically much more local. With the HF stations, we have communications around the world, around the U.S. very easily.
Once again, folks, you're allowed to come down and check this out. It is free to the general public, and they would love to be able to educate you on this. Again, we are at Silver Springs Park Campground in Stowe, Ohio right now. All right, so talk to me about this Get on the Air thing. Is this the one where you're allowed to talk on the air?
Well, yeah, if they want to come in, they want to be a guest, you have to be licensed to be able to do it, but we'll have a control operator who will actually operate the radio, but they can send their voice out.
Okay.
So if they want to come out and give it a try, they can do that.
Okay.
We're going to walk right over here.
All right.
I'm going to pick the screen up so you can see here.
Okay.
I guess we're going to have to go around.
No, that's fine.
We'll go around the other side here. Once you don't trip on the wires here.
I won't.
This is the trailer that did
Jim Barry.
1,000 or 1,100 contacts. Jim is sitting right there.
He's pounding them out.
They're talking to somebody somewhere across the country.
We'll hear what the call is in a moment here.
The Alpha station go.
So here at the station, you didn't get the full call sign, so he's asking them to repeat it.
Alpha 0, Radio Whiskey, 5 Alpha Ohio.
So the Alpha 0 station is somewhere in the Midwest.
Okay.
Whiskey 8, Victor Papa Victor.
He
Whiskey
records
8,
it in his
Victor
log.
Papa Victor.
And,
QSL.
for example, Jim has worked almost 200 contacts in the first 2 hours.
Okay.
He's doing quite a few.
Okay.
CQ Field Day, Whiskey 8, Victor Papa Victor. Whiskey 8,
Now,
Victor Papa Victor.
Do you guys take rotations as you do
Yes,
this?
we do. So we do a couple hour shifts. Young lady Libby's going to take over for Jim in a few minutes.
Okay.
And he'll take a little bit of a break.
Okay.
But we'll go 24 hours, so we'll have people out here all night operating. Now, for the general public, we suggest you come out during daylight hours. It's not really safe to walk around the field day site when it's dark. So, and we won't have our visitors center set up. So the best time to come is tomorrow between 10 and 2.
Okay.
So
Bankers hours, 10 and 2. Come between 10 and 2.
That doesn't mean we aren't.
I think that was a good point that Anthony made. If you're going to come visit when the day when it's daytime as opposed to night, because just too much out there on the ground to be out there in the middle of the night walking around. That comes back to that same thing we were talking about earlier, Pat, about safety first. You've got to have your site safe. In fact, one of the things that you receive extra points for is having a safety officer and having those safety plans that you were talking about earlier, Pat, in place. We've got one more short video to show you guys tonight before we wrap this up. It's going to talk about that safety officer and the other things that clubs do during the course of field day to get extra points from the ARRL. And so this is a very worthwhile video from our friend Michael, KB9VBR. And so he's going to tell us about those points. Now, Pat, while we watch this, do a mental calculation and see how many extra points you've got coming.
All right, you're listening to the World According to Elmer on Crooked River Radio. We'll be back on the other side to wrap it up.
Are you leaving points on the table? We're going to look at bonus opportunities for ARRL Field Day. Keep watching for more. Hi, I'm Michael, KB9VBR, your host for Ham Radio Q&A. I'm on a mission to inspire and educate the amateur radio community. So if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Well, Field Day is the annual emergency preparedness operating event that's sponsored by the ARRL. Held on the fourth full weekend of June, Field Day is part contest and part social gathering. Some clubs or groups go whole hog in making contacts and scoring points, while others take a more casual approach and use that time to reconnect with fellow hams. Our local club falls somewhere in the middle of that. We've got a few people that are really gung-ho on scoring the points, and others that are just there for the fellowship and the camaraderie. Well, that's great, and that's what I love about Field Day. It can accomplish all of that stuff. So, do you want to make Field Day a more rewarding activity and boost your club score at the same time? Well, then go for the bonus points. The ARRL provides up to 3,950 additional bonus points that you can receive, and these can really make a big difference to your final score. In fact, our local club, some years, we score more on the bonus than we do on actual contacts. So, what bonuses are available? Well, let's break them down. The first few bonus points are going to be pretty self-explanatory, and just about all clubs are going to receive those. So, first up in bonuses for ARRL Field Day is 100% emergency power. You get 100 points for each transmitter that's up to 20 transmitters, or 2,000 points that are on a source that's completely independent from commercial electrical mains. That would involve using batteries, generators to provide power. Next is media publicity. Be sure to send a news release to your local newspaper, radio, or television stations. Doing so will net you another 100 points. If you want reporters to actually visit your Field Day site, then give them a follow-up call the Friday before the event and talk to either the assignment editor or the news director of the media outlet so that they are reminded about the event and they know where it is. Public location. This bonus also gets you 100 points if you place your station in a local park or other facility that's open to the public. Schools and shopping centers or other great locations. Can private property be considered a public location? It sure can, as long as the public is invited. In the past, we've used scout camps and also a privately owned field to run our Field Day operation. So as long as the public's invited to attend, you're good to go. In fact, if you're inviting the public, you also need a public information table. Doing that will net you another 100 bonus points. And it can be as simple as putting out a table with a small display, maybe a few pamphlets, brochures, and of course a sign-up sheet so you can track who stops by and maybe follow up with them later. A message to the section manager. Send a radiogram to your ARRL section manager and get another 100 bonus points. This message needs to be transmitted during Field Day, and you have to use NTS style format. So check your local HF net schedule to find out when those nets will be operating so you can send that message during the event. As you're sending the message to your section manager, don't forget that you can also get 10 additional bonus points, up to 100 for each piece of NTS, National Traffic System traffic, that you originate from your Field Day site. Like I said, up to 100 points. The messages must leave the site over the radio waves, but you can use any method means, HF or VHF or whatnot. We typically use WinLink to send these messages out over the radio waves. Satellite QSO, that's another 100 bonus points. All of those birds in the air are worth 100 points if you can make a two-way contact on one. Satellite contacts can be challenging, so you may want to designate one or two people whose task is specifically to do those contacts. Alternate power, that's another opportunity. In addition to using your generator for providing the emergency power during the event, you can receive up to 100 bonus points if you make 5 contacts using an alternate power method. That can be solar, wind, methane, water, anything besides using a gasoline-powered generator to provide power. You can even use the solar or whatnot to charge the batteries, and then the batteries at the event for your alternate power QSOs. So think about that in planning your alternate power needs. The W1AW Bulletin. Net 100 points if you copy W1AW Bulletin. That's transmitted several times over the Field Day weekend. This bulletin is transmitted via code, phone, and data modes, and it must be accurately copied. I usually try to copy this bulletin multiple times during the weekends in multiple methods so that I can kind of reconstruct the message into one complete piece. Don't forget those, check the ARRL schedule for when those bulletins are transmitted, and check different bands because propagation may be different for where you're located. Educational activity bonus. If you're participating with a club, you should really go provide some sort of educational activity. A formal activity that is amateur radio related will net you 100 bonus points. Need some ideas? Well, maybe you should check out my blog at www.jpole-antenna.com for some ideas that make great field day educational opportunities. A site visitation by a local elected government official. Elected officials love to get out and meet their constituents, and their presence gets you 100 bonus points. So send an invitation to your community's mayor, alderpersons, board members, or supervisors. Be sure to tell them the benefits of amateur radio to your community and how you can provide a valuable service at no extra taxpayer expense. They'd love to hear that. So when you're inviting an elected official, don't forget to extend an invitation out to your local emergency management, a Red Cross director, the Salvation Army, or other served agency that your group is involved with. Doing that will get you 100 extra points. Go to bonus. Get on the air stations are a great way for new hams or visitors to have a non-threatening, casual way to experience the fun of field day and amateur radio. A go-to operator can amass up to 100 bonus points, and up to 5 operators can receive a total of 500 bonus points for your club during the field day weekend. Go-to stations have some very specific requirements, so be sure to read the rules on their operation. In addition to go-to operation, you can get up to 20 bonus points. You can get 20 bonus points up to 100 for each youth 17 and under that gets on the air during field day weekend. So be sure to get those kids radioactive and score some extra points. Publicizing your site via social media can get you another 100 points. So if you're active on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or any of the other social channels, be sure you do some posts during field day weekend and tag the ARRL at the same time. One of the most important bonuses that you can receive is designating a safety officer for field day weekend. This person must complete a safety checklist in the rules packet and assure that your event operation is a safe one. I have a video on field day safety, so be sure to check that out. And last but not least, you can receive a 50-point bonus for online submission of your field day results. So after everything is said and done, be sure to send your results electronically to the ARRL and claim that bonus and claim all those bonus points that you are entitled to. By my count, that's 3,950 points. That's quite a haul and can certainly be a big effect on your final score. But will you be able to get every point available field day weekend? Probably not. But there's no reason that you cannot score at least 1,050 points in bonuses this weekend. So, does your club go after field point bonuses? How many do you usually score on a weekend? Please feel free to leave some comments below. I'd love to hear how many your group racks up. For more ham radio articles, please check my blog at www.jpole-antenna.com, and also give me a big thumbs up. That's a cue to other people to help them find these videos. And always don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified when future videos are released. Well, I'm Michael, KB9VBR. Have a great day. Have fun at Field Day in 73.
Thank you, Michael. We did have fun at Field Day. Thank you very much. Well, how do you think you did, Pat? Were all those?
There was only one thing he talked about that we didn't do, and that was because we couldn't find anybody. Was a government agency thing. Everything else we did.
Now, here was my question on that. Is it the invitation itself? Because I invited a government official. They have to come.
They have to come. They have to come on site.
Then we're going to miss that one too.
Yeah, that's about the only one that we would have missed out on. We did the communications with the state or the ARRL representation. We even did the solar thing. we made the solar contacts and all that. There were some changes that they made as far as the social media side of this. It used to be if you just posted a thing about field day on your social media site, you could count that as a points. Now they actually want you to be participating from field day on the whatever site, the social media site.
Which we did. We put pictures up all through field day.
That's what we did too. That was the idea of 330 to go and all that.
Well, now that on a couple of the platforms like Facebook, in spite of my feelings about that platform, one of the good things they have, anybody that can pick up their cell phone can just go on to Facebook, and they've got a camera right here, and they can broadcast to the world. Well, what a great way to bring people down to field day, getting on that site and just telling the world where you're at and what you're doing.
Precisely.
So, yeah, this is all about trying to make sure that other people know we're there and what we do. And there are future ham radio operators, I'm certain, that attended our field days this year. I'd bet money on it. So, have we talked field day out yet? Are we through with field day now for a while?
For a week or two anyway.
Yeah. I think it was like the last 3 shows we did field days, so it'll be nice to move on to something else next week. But gosh, this has been fun. This has really been a good time this year so far. It's been a great radio year as we continue to recover from the pandemic. So I'm excited about what's to come yet this year and as we move forward. So many good things happening right now in ham radio, and it's great to be part of them. Folks, thank you for being here this evening. This is The World According to Elmer on the Crooked River Radio Network. That is our Elmer sitting right over there in that chair, Mr. Pat Morrow, N80QP. I am Gerry, and I'm KG8RRY. We will be back next Tuesday evening right here on the Crooked River at 7 o'clock, same time. So come back next week and see us again. I hope wherever you are, that you had a fantastic field day and that you can share this hobby with somebody else this week. Until next week, we will see you. 73, and thank you for being with us tonight.
7-3, y'all. Catch you next week.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Crooked River Radio Network. See you again soon.